Hello, Lollipop. Good afternoon. Happy Thursday, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you around the world. If you're joining me in my kitchen for the very first time, I am Gladys. I love to bake. I love cake, okay? And over here, I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. We're running a little bit late or over schedule. Normally the lives are 1 p.m. UK time. It's nearly 2 p.m. but here I am. So if you're just joining us today, thank you for your time. I have Lollipop in the chat. I have my Tapita with her coffee, I believe. Early morning sort, dawn time. Hi, both of you. Lollipop, I know you're baking. Keep us updated how it's going. Ask questions, we can answer them. Have me as your resource person. I am on hand to help you. I think as the time was delaying, I was thinking about you, Lollipop, because I was like, damn, I want to come here at 1 o'clock so that I can make room to answer your questions. So how is it going? How is the buttercream going? If you're making the chocolate buttercream, I've got tips for you. And if you're baking, are we still doing the box mix? Right. Thank goodness we are back to baking. So I have a bit of time on my hands to engage, answer questions and chat with you guys. Yesterday, what was the gentleman's name? He was asking questions about substituting fat, as in solid fats for liquid fats and different sorts. So I thought today it would be a good chance to bake whilst talking about all these little things. So what are we doing? We are baking a simple sponge cake. I'm going to be employing the creaming method. It's nothing new here. It's the same recipe I have on the channel. I have tried it time and again. And I've baked this recipe time and again on the channel. The only reason I am redoing it so that it's a good opportunity to kind of talk to you guys, especially new ones who are just getting into the chat. And there's always an opportunity for new information if you like. So it's good time to kind of go back to baking and to talk about baking. But because I'll still be a sort of resource person for our lovely friend Lollipop, who is undertaking a baking activity at home over there, maybe you'll find me sort of leaning into some of the questions she's asking in the chat. But whilst we're at it, thank you for being here. What are we doing? We've got the ingredients. We'll be talking about that in a moment. And I'll be talking you through my intention about the process, which is something I do here a lot on the lives, especially if you're just seeing me for the first time. I like to take you through the entire process from start to finish, just so that you are empowered and also informed, so you can have not just the information about the ingredients, but also the technique and the reasoning behind it, just so that you're well informed to undertake that in your home kitchen. Baking is an exciting thing, even though it's precision cooking sometimes and it's very tricky and pedantic. But once you nail down some of the important aspects of baking, it is exciting. We don't just bake, we also decorate. I love the artistry of cake decoration. So I don't just like a cake that is amazing to eat, but it also looks great in whatever form that is. On our recent series, we've been dabbling into carved and sculpted cakes, and we've gone from a flower vase potted sort of cake to yesterday a burger cake. It's sometimes a bit manic and chaos. It's all part of the process. So if you're just joining us, great to have you. Let's get into baking, but before that, let's preheat our oven to start with, whilst I also answer some questions here. You know what have I done to my oven today? You know what? Am I the only baker who doesn't even know the knobs on my oven? I don't know how to use them. The damn thing isn't working. Well, let's see what happens. Today is not going to be another chaotic day, is it? It's working now. Because if you were here the last few days, 2 days ago, we were making a burger cake. It literally flew off my hands. Yesterday, in the process of the cake making, cake decorating, I went to get a cup for a demonstration, and then my favorite cup fell off and broke. I wasn't happy with that. And today my oven is not about to break on me. So anyway, lately, welcome back. It's been a little while since we last heard from you. I hope you're keeping well. How is business going and how is progress? Keep us informed. You know who I'm thinking about? There is a friend of the channel. I haven't heard of her lately. She's Vicky Kali. Vicky Kali. Vicky, if you happen to see this chat, hello there. Yeah, you crossed my mind. I hope all things are well with you. And also Chantilly P, Ketian. Ketian, where are you? It's been a little while, but I know the lives are too early in the morning, so it can be a little bit difficult to catch up, especially for some of you who are on a very different time zone. But our serious friend with the serious job, Laura, hiya, where are you? Okay, let's get into the chat and see what's happening over here. Look at me. Tapita said she just left Lollipop a novel. She said, okay, they've been talking in the chat. So she said, I'll check it out later because I'm sure okay, right. Lollipop. My brownies was a little liquid after a few minutes, so I chucked them back in. Okay, you know what? Lollipop, thank you for, so Lollipop is making some brownie layered cake with chocolate buttercream, and she is using a buttercream recipe I have over here. Lollipop, keep us updated about this buttercream recipe. What you feel could have been done different. Did you think the process was seamless? What information are you missing? How is it going? So that other people will feel inspired as well. But thank you for sharing that. So the buttercream we're talking about is my chocolate buttercream without cocoa powder. It's on the channel in long form, not a live video. It's in long form, so you can check that out. She took that and she's gone and made herself buttercream. She says it's delicious. I'm happy for you. You know, if the brownie, when I saw, I took it out, it was liquid, so I chucked, my heart skipped a little. I'm like, oh gosh, she didn't go chucking the entire thing. And I see that you saw it, put it back in the oven, and now it's come out. See, sometimes baking times, you have to make adjustments for baking time. So I'm glad it's all worked out for you. Great to hear that. Okay. Lady Lately is back in the chat. Lady, we haven't seen you in a while, darling. Okay. Okay. Lollipop is going to get the neighbors post. Yeah, I get my neighbors post all the time. Lady Lately, she had the flu, but she's better now. She's baking again. Oh, Lady Lately, you need a cup of tea, like we're talking healthy tea, Earl Grey tea or lemon and ginger tea, feet up, hot water bottle, isn't it? Okay, we're glad you are better now. And a friend of mine, oh, Lady Lately, we're sending you so much love. What a good thing you're doing. I hope it all goes well. We're sending you so much love, and well, send us some meals, okay? We're not poorly, but we can do with some looking after, lady. Sending you so much hugs, my dear. You look after yourself whilst you're looking after somebody else as well, okay? All the best. And girls, come on, send some love to Lady Lately because we miss her, right? And she's taking on a lot of them. There is a friend in the chat who is saying, you look great. What am I cooking? Thank you. You know what? I can't pronounce your name. It's in a spelling I have no clue about. But honey, thank you for the compliment. And we're making a cake. We're making a sponge cake over here. Okay? All right? And so, yep. Definitely, Lollipop. I agree. Lollipop is telling Lady Lately the friend is lucky to have her. Surely your friend is lucky to have you. Lollipop, the buttercream recipe is good. She added terrace. Ooh, did you? The mouthfeel of that would be amazing. Ooh, okay. Okay, so Tapita, now I want to leave my kitchen. I want to come to your house and sit down with a brownie, a slice of brownie with that buttercream on it, set solid, and a nice cup of tea. Hot, strong, okay? No sugar. Okay, let's just move on, right? Tapita, okay. Tapita says, my mom's the same. I only get mine because, okay, right. Lady Lately says she can't stop her chocolate buttercream from separating. Oh, yours have cocoa powder in it. It starts out creamy, light, and turns out dark brown. Don't know what to do. Okay, Lollipop, you might just want to hold Lady Lately's hand about the chocolate buttercream over there. First of all, Lady, tell us your recipe and technique. Leave it in the chat, because I'll need to see that and see what is happening in terms of why it might be separating. But when you're using cocoa powder, it can be tricky, but it's all about the recipe. So for instance, if your recipe does contain, say, fresh cream or double cream, and you're using cocoa powder, it starts creamy, it's nice, it's with a great mouthfeel, it will separate. If you're using American buttercream, but you're mixing the cocoa powder in with a bit of milk, it will hold. But when it settles at room temperature, the milk will make it look a bit bubbly and curdly. So leave your recipe in the chat, plus technique and any relevant information that might inform me to be able to help you better. That aside, let's go on to baking this cake that we have over here. Where are we? Look at me. You know what? I've just unplugged that. Whilst we're at it, let's talk about the ingredients over here, right? The ingredients I have here is caster sugar and margarine. There is 325 grams of margarine and 425 grams of caster sugar. It's only, the sugar is only 100 grams over the margarine over here. I have a total of about 280 grams of eggs here, except you can break the eggs and add them. The only thing I have done slightly differently is that I have separated parts of the eggs into egg whites. So this is about 3 to 4 egg whites, right? And then I have added the yolks in here with some whole eggs. So whatever you do, it's 280 grams of eggs altogether. So it's neither here nor there. But the reason why I have separated them is because I will be adding them separately in a way that enhances my goals for the cake I want to make. I want to get a creamy, richer base to my batter that yields a very light and yet stable structure. And what I'm attempting to do is that when I come to creaming the eggs, the yolks will go in first to kind of set the base up before I add the white. So the key thing here is that the quantity is 280. The key thing is how I have separated them and how I will be introducing them into the batter. Then we have buttermilk here. There's 110 mils of buttermilk. Now when I talk buttermilk, I'm not talking buttermilk where you have vinegar poured into milk to create your buttermilk. Whilst that tends to mimic the sort of form of buttermilk, it is not the sort of buttermilk that you buy in shops, because the ones you buy in shop, it's a different, it's sort of it's a culture dairy to start with, but it's a sort of different kind of reaction that will give you a certain kind of result. For instance, in terms of observing how it presents, it's a little bit thicker and milkier and lends to the side of maybe a runny yogurt more than the one you make at home where you add vinegar to milk, because that just separates the curdle from the liquid and creates a sort of mixture that is more fluidy, as in it has more liquid. And when you add that into your bake, you have to keep an eye on it. It certainly doesn't yield the same result like the short bore buttermilk. I will say, if you decide then to substitute buttermilk for anything else, at least its closest proximity, go for kefir. Kefir has the same composition, or it's near in nature to short-boiled buttermilk than anything else you would get. But this recipe is fairly adaptable, so you can replace the buttermilk with sour cream. They don't do the same thing. Sour cream is equally a cultured dairy, but it yields a slightly different result because the fat content in there is higher. It will yield you a more denser but richer and delicate bake. So that is just a bit of information to say the intention to add buttermilk here is to enhance moisture, which is, it's a moisture enhancing ingredient because it's a liquid that will stop your cake from getting dry and will bring moisture to your cake. However, it also does enhance the crumb quality of your cake. So that's something to know. Then I have, this is an entire quantity of 450 grams of flour. However, the flour here is more like 150 grams of self-raising flour plus 400 grams of plain flour. Actually, now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to swap the flour here. You know why? Because I set these ingredients up initially for cupcakes, and I'm actually going to use it to bake cakes. If I was making cupcakes, this quantity of flour with 150 grams of self-raising flour will work better with the plain flour. But because I'm not using it for cupcakes and I don't want to add rising agent, I'm just going to swap the flour here for a full-on self-raising flour that will measure about 450 grams. I hope that kind of makes sense. So I'm just going to go for my scale over here. Let's look at Lady Lately. Is it Friday today, people? I don't think so, is it? Or some of you are in a part of the world where it's already Friday for you, right? Is that what's happening? Because it's Thursday, isn't it? Normally I lose track of my days, so let's see, right? Tapita. Let's have a look at Lady Lately. Okay, so Lady Lately says yeah, Lady Lately, you said your buttercream, your chocolate buttercream has cocoa powder in it, and it starts to separate. It starts light in color and then turns dark. Right, Lady Lately, I was asking if you could put your recipe, the details, so that I will see what ingredients are used for your chocolate buttercream, because there's no one recipe for chocolate buttercream. There are different ones, and the one that Lollipop was making from my recipe is actually American buttercream, but it starts as a base. You can use any sort of buttercream to make that chocolate buttercream. So leave the details in the chat so that I can see what exactly your ingredients are, just so that I can be able to advise you better. I hope that kind of makes sense. With that said, we're going to measure the self-raising flour. And by so doing, I'm just going to put my butter and this in the oven for microwave for a minute. Today I am feeling a little more shattered with no much energy. I don't know why. This is self-raising flour. There's 450 grams in there. And that's all I need. And some salt, right? I would be tempted to sift this, but it's all right. It will do. So there you go. we have all of that. So we've talked through the ingredients there. I'm gonna get my mixer out. Tabitha, it's the lack of a fire pit for sure. Maybe it's a lack of sunshine and going out for a walk and doing some exercise and eating right and keeping a healthy lifestyle, because my life revolves around cake, and a lot of the time I am so on this journey where I have been a little bit unhealthy. So I kind of understand that. It's okay. I'm not mad about it. Unless you're looking to show off with your fire pit, you. There you go. I have just put the margarine and sugar. It's not the sugar that I was looking to do anything. It's the margarine. I was just looking to melt the margarine just a little bit so it is at room temperature. So there we go. And I want some vanilla, and into that we have our paddle attachment. I'm gonna let this go for I think 4 to 5 minutes, in between 4 to 6 minutes, but we'll slow it down to scrape the insides. If I am not talking to you when that happens, it's because I am just waiting for the noisy mixer to stop, and then I'll talk to you after. So bear with me whilst we're at it. Yeah, people. Good morning, Carol. How are you, darling? I hope you are well. Good to have you back. How is work? if these were cupcakes, I probably wouldn't whip them this much, because the same recipe makes for cupcakes. The only change is that I have to mix the flour with plain flour so that I don't have an overfill or overrise of the cupcake cases. And you've seen me prepare the same cupcakes over here. The only thing is that if I'm making a sponge cake, I still want it to be light, so I use self-raising flour and I let the creaming go for a little longer, up to 6 minutes, and I try to bring it back to hold better by introducing the egg yolks first. So I'm going to let that go for another 3 minutes again, and then we'll be back to put the eggs in. The Tinker Queen. Oh, hi. Thank you. Thank you, Tinker Queen. Yes, the Kenwood K-Mix does come as a clear, and I only got the clear because of content, so you can see in. But otherwise, I have a K-Mix here that is a stainless steel bowl. So yeah. Who is having a day off? Okay, our butter is creamed, and we're going to be adding the egg yolk. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the egg yolk and then adding the egg yolks in here. There's 2 and then 3, and I'm going to let that go a little bit. Caroline is saying she likes the finishing of the burger cake. Saw the display on the page. Oh, when you hear when we finished it. Okay, we finished it yesterday. Thank you, Caroline. Right, Tinker Queen. Yeah, this is the K-Mix dough. You can get the clear bowl if you want. I think it's on they say a sale, but it seems like the price is still the same. It's about £199. So yeah, thank you. Adding the egg yolks in forms a very creamy base that is nicer, and it does yield you a very solid textured tight crumb to your cake. Now I'm going to add the whites and then 1 whole egg, which I am now mixing together. We're slowing this down, and then we're going to be adding our eggs. give it time to mix in. I am going to scrape it. Because adding in the egg yolks first sets the base and helps to emulsify better, and then it doesn't cause your batter to break, but that is not always guaranteed nonetheless. Tabitha, I'll talk to you in a minute about the Bakealong, yeah? Right, so Tabitha, let me just finish this and then we can talk about the Bakealong properly. Right, so we have the butter done now. Can we see? First of all the ingredients has to be at room temperature, or at least set enough so that you can make the batter, so things are not like running tight. But if you get everything that is supposed to be done right at this point, you should have a very light textured base here after the eggs have gone in. And now we're going to add our self-raising flour and also our liquid, which is the buttermilk. Yeah, the self-raising flour has a pinch of salt in there. And to add the flour, I am turning the mixer down to full function. It is the slowest function on here to help you mix like delicate stuff. I'm supposed to alternate the use of the flour and the liquid. I'm supposed to alternate it, but I'm just dumping this because the quantity is just a little bit. There's only 110 mils. There's one. You start with flour and then you finish with flour. So if I were to do the liquid in batches, it will be splitting the flour into threes: first, then liquid, then second, then liquid, and then third. But I'm just doing it in two, so it's first portion, the liquid, and then we finish with flour. Okay, goes in, and that's it. Tips for not making the egg cake. I will answer all those questions. Let's get the baking task out of the way, and then I will talk to you about the tips. So if you have baking questions, leave them in the chat, because we are baking today. Because our butter is done anyway, so I have to literally stop my hands from doing this because I can't be. Okay, let's. Okay, I think that's okay now. Let's get the butter out. Get the mixer down. Okay, butter all done now. Okay, and we are getting these in 2 6-inch. Normally I will bake tall, which is why the tin is lined very tall, but I changed my mind. So we are just baking 2 layers of 6, and then we'll be baking another 2 in chocolate, but not now, because the cake is going to be alternate layers of vanilla and chocolate. Right, there we go. I'm just trying to spread the butter in there. Right, there you go. There you go. And then that goes into the oven. We are baking at 160 degrees C for 55 minutes to 1 hour, 15 minutes as always. This time I didn't put any water in there, so I am trying to bake low just so that it will bake fine. But that aside, you have my attention. Let me drink some water. 1 second. Okay, right, Lady Lately, we still have your buttercream question to answer, right? You don't have to put the exact recipe and quantities in the chat. I just want to know the ingredient list and what is in it. Is it butter? Is it icing sugar? Is it fresh cream? I just want to know what exactly is in it. So if you don't mind, you can post it just so that I can see, and then I can advise you better. Because the thing with chocolate buttercream, as I mentioned earlier, is that there are so many ways to derive chocolate buttercream. There's no one way. You can create chocolate buttercream completely from ganache. You can create chocolate buttercream by adding cocoa powder. I don't add the cocoa powder to my chocolate buttercream a lot of the time, even though I have done it before. And when you do it, you have to understand how cocoa powder alkalized, how alkalized cocoa powder affects your result and non-alkalized, that is natural cocoa powder. So those are two things to consider when you're using it in your buttercream. And then the option to swap from there to using say chocolate bars. I prefer the chocolate bar method with about 50% cocoa, because I don't want my chocolate buttercream to be too bitter, but I also want a very rich, smooth mouthfeel to my buttercream. So the buttercream option we were talking about with Lollipop, for instance, is derived from an American buttercream base. And the reason why I use American buttercream base here is because at the time making that cupcakes, it was for corporate cupcakes for a client. They wanted a bit of the sweetness to the buttercream, but they didn't want it to be overly sweet, right? So I thought, because American buttercream is super sweet, if I derived it using a 1-to-1 ratio of butter to sugar, it will try and cut down the overly sweetness. But by introducing cocoa, as in a sort of buttercream ganache into the buttercream to create the chocolate buttercream. So I'm adding buttercream ganache to American buttercream. I am enhancing the sweetness of the buttercream in total, whilst also introducing milk and creamy mouthfeel from the cocoa as well. So it is very mild tasting. It is great. Even better if you make it in French buttercream. But the French buttercream can be a little bit unstable, because if you wanted to change the French buttercream to chocolate buttercream, you have to almost raise the proportion of butter in your base French buttercream. So it sounds like a tangent. I say all that to say there are different recipes for different things. You just have to know what ingredients add to yours and understand how the ingredients work. And I find that primarily the ingredients that will require fresh or double cream to your cocoa powder, chocolate buttercream will eventually break and be curdly, which is what is yielding the result. But I don't know if yours does that, right? Which is why I said just put your ingredient generally and then tell us how you do it, so that I can see what you could adapt. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean you should change your recipe. It just means that you have to kind of adapt it slightly in a way by maintaining the core ingredients that will work for you. So that was what I was saying. That aside, oh, I didn't even note the time that the cake went into the oven. Let's just stamp it at 2:30. So we have about 55 minutes. Of course, we're not going to be here for the entire 55 minutes because, yeah, life happens and we have to go and do stuff. So I don't know what we're going to be doing. But hopefully if it bakes within that 55 minutes, because the 55 to an hour, 15 minutes is also when I'm baking a tall cake. I find that when I'm baking the cake in small layers, as in short layers of 2 inches high, they tend to bake quicker. So perhaps give or take in 40 minutes, 45 minutes, this should be done. So if we're here within 40 minutes, we should be able to see the result of all the things we did. If I'm not missing anything in the chat, let's talk about Caroline asking how you can stop cakes from being eggy. Now, cakes from being eggy is a thing in baking. You have to understand how your ingredients marry together, but primarily the egginess. Okay, I'll say if your ratio of eggs to the other, because baking ingredients are not just, you don't just make up baking ingredients, they are in what you call generally ratios. And when you look closely, you will realize that the ratios of ingredients are proportional to each. So I don't know about what specific recipe that would require too many eggs, because there has to be balance. I'm not saying too many eggs is the reason your cake is eggy, because sometimes even having the same proportion of eggs to other recipes will cause your cake to be eggy. But saying that, I'm just trying to address the different things that may affect the eggy nature. So supposing your ratio of eggs is more than the other ingredients, it means your egg quantity is overpowering other things, which will primarily make your bake a little bit eggy, on the eggier side. That said, if you're using some of the recipes, Western recipes that I have seen, I haven't seen a cake recipe that that employs creamy method for, say, a butter style cake that has so many eggs that it's overpowering over the other ingredients. But when you look at the Asian recipes where they make the cakes from the chiffon batter, where they beat the eggs until fluffy and then they introduce the dry ingredients, that kind of cake is optimized for that style of baking because it relies on the eggs to hold air pockets. So it will be eggy because that is the recipe nature and the ingredients rely solely on eggs. That said, if we are addressing a general like simple butter style cake that is super eggy, you want to look at a few things. Unless you are so egg sensitive that the smell, because if you're sensitive to eggs, right, the smell of eggs around you, even at its lowest quantity, is still going to feel a little bit for you, right? So if you're so sensitive that you can't tolerate it, then perhaps you have to consider non-egg style cakes. But generally, if it's not an issue of quantity and it's not an issue where you have to primarily rely on eggs, some of the things that does affect your cake becoming very eggy is the quality of your eggs. In that, if your eggs are not very fresh, because we do know eggs do go off, and the smell of eggs going off is horrid. Have you had one before? Ooh. For a baker, I have seen that before, and I don't want to see that ever again in my life. It's awful, okay? So, for that reason, you want to consider fresh eggs, right? So, outside of fresh eggs, perhaps another thing you want to do is, supposing all things are working equally and you have fresh eggs and your eggs are proportional to the quantity of your ingredient, maybe you want to also consider raising your flavoring a little bit. Will it completely mask the egginess? I don't know, but I'm just trying to think. Unless you are using spoiled eggs or eggs that are not generally fresh, I can't seem to work out. There is a science to why the eggs can be eggy. I think it has something to do with potassium. Don't quote me on it. I remember I was developing a recipe some point, and I was testing other things, and I found that one recipe, every time I took it out, the inside was just eggy and I couldn't tolerate it. So I think it has something to do with the gases that happens when the cake is baking, and it's connected to potassium, I think. Don't quote me on it. So I say that to say, when your cake recipe is eggy, then you have to look at the recipe closely to identify what the problem is and then start from there. But generally, if you want to stop your cake from being eggy, unfortunately, because some style of cakes do rely on generally some amount of eggs, it can be hard to kind of sort of solve that problem. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. So with that in mind, just ensure that you have fresh eggs. Ensure that the proportion of eggs is sort of proportional to the other ingredients so that it doesn't become overpowering. If tempted to, consider masking it with raising some of your flavoring options in your recipe. But above all, if it gets too much for you and you can't tolerate it, maybe you should consider egg substitutes. I hope that answers your question over there. Where are we? Lollipop is allergic to eggs, but she eats them. Yeah, nobody likes the smell of eggs when they are being fried. When I am frying eggs, when the first like the whiff of the pan and the oil hits me. It's like, oh, what is that? But throw in some cheese and make an omelette, a crispy cheesy omelette, and I forget that the eggs are, I can't stand them. So that's one thing. Let's see. Did I miss anything in the chat? Okay, you guys were talking about almond flavoring and making sure that, yes, almond flavoring does tend to go a long way. So a little bit helps, okay? Is it Tesco? Which one says Tesco or Asda? Any little helps. You just want to make sure only a little portion is what you need, because otherwise it will overpower your bake. I know I am missing my A here. I need to get a new apron, or probably consider getting rid of the entire thing over here. Let's see, because I just looked in the chat and I think I should get rid of the star, right? And then we have just a baker, so that everyone knows I'm a baker anyway. I'm just like in your face about it, isn't it? Okay, let's rid of this. And there you go. Okay, that's me. I'm all naked, and I no kidding. So we have Star Baker. I think that's what got rid of it. Oh, Caroline, you're so welcome. I was actually looking in the chat to see, is Caroline still here? Where are you? So yeah, great. So that is the subject of eggs covered over here. Now, Lollipop, yeah, she gets the feeling, the smell of garlic and onion frying at first. Then it's okay. Oh God, I like the smell of onions and garlic. No, I'll take that back. It's not like I like it, but obviously as an African who likes to cook, you can't do without onions and garlic, right? We literally live in that stuff. That is the base of all our cooking. One of these days I was actually thinking, oh, you know what? I do think about a lot of things, and for your sake, one of these days I have to come and cook you guys jollof rice, okay? I have to come and cook jollof rice. Oh, okay. Yeah. Tapeta. So when you go on the website, right, I haven't put a sign up link because the website is not optimized for you people. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, the website is more for the cake. So I haven't optimized it for sign ups and that. But if you go on the website, on the homepage, you look at the drop down menu where it says contact. Click contact. You have the options call, email. Just click on the email. So Tapeta, talking to you, and anyone, we were talking about the Bakealong. I'll give you more information on that. The Bakealong is we are considering some planned classes. The Bakealongs are for certain sessions, they are free. Okay, so we are planning it. So this is something we are planning, but it will depend on the number of interest and how it will inform organizing it. Whether we'll run it as a regular live where you can come and join in at home, or we'll transition it to, say, Zoom for something. It's all in the planning. So if you want to sign up for it, go to the website. My website is linked in my videos, not this one because I haven't optimized my description box yet. But if you go to my other videos, you will see a link to the website. The website, when you get to the home page, go to contact, and the contact should link you to the email, which is, I say all that to say I will link that contact form in the description box on this video when I come to it. So when you get into the email is optimized for, say, customers who want to buy cakes. So when you get the email details, just enter Bakealong, just so that when I see it in my business inbox, I know that this person this person is registering for the Bakealong. So just title it Bakealong and just leave your name and introduce yourself. That's all. even if you don't introduce yourself because emails scare you and you can't say anything, just leave Bakealong in their title and I will notify you and get back in touch with you. We're looking to kind of make the Bakealong classes, like the organized sessions, about 10 at a time. So even if the interest grows, we will have to break the sessions into different times, if you like. So if you're interested, go sign up. And I'll leave the contact form, a link to that in the description box with information on how to do that, okay? It is free, at least for now, okay? So yes, that is just that. And what is the Bakealong about? It's because most of you who joined the chat are interested in baking or are baking in some form, and a little bit of support and giving back will be great. So these are like the foundations of baking, because then we are hoping to build up on it. So for instance, the bake we undertook today is something I have done here before, and it gets really repetitive. And whilst I know you will get the chance to ask me questions, whilst Tapita makes me laugh. Whilst I know you get a chance to ask me questions, it's not the same when I am in the kitchen. So having you via, say, Zoom and stuff, I can see what the interest is. We can discuss what sort of Bakealong or free class or webinars I can hold periodically, just so that we can, if we hold it, say, as a non-baking webinar, then we can all get to interact. You can throw your baking questions at me. I can answer your baking questions, and I can also help you solve some baking problems you might be having. So that will be sort of very relaxed and chill. Whereas over here, generally, I come and I'm baking, and I realize that as try as I may to keep up with chatting and engaging with you, I do tend to kind of lose focus of chatting and the engaging, and then sometimes I even miss out on the questions, and sometimes I start a live with an intention of completing something else, and unless it's a bake, I end up like going off because the chat kind of, or the engaging in the chat takes a different course. So that can lead to more structured sessions. And of course, we will see how that develops. So yes, Tapita and anyone who is interested in signing up, please do, because if we can get up to about 10 people for the first session, that will be lovely. Just so that I can also put in some resource and effort into planning this properly, so you can get the best out of it. I think there are other people I have on the list that I will be emailing just to let them know to register their interest. But yeah, so Lollipop, the brownies are done, right? Where do you go from there? You leave the brownies in the fridge to set, and then do you put them together tomorrow? And besides the brownies and buttercream, what else are you adding to it? No, Tapita, no, we don't do spicy jollof over here. I don't know. Obviously, jollof is supposed to be spicy because it's an African dish, but no, I don't make spicy jollof. Unfortunately, even if I made it spicy, you won't be able to eat it. But yes, I've been thinking about you, and I thought if I made jollof, I would want to make it in a way that you can try at home for yourself, right? But I wonder if you'll be able to source the rice. Okay, Lollipop says she's wrapped up the brownies on the side, and they should be cooled and set by dinner. By the time dinner is done. So okay, you'll decorate it tonight. Ooh, you must be feeling so proud of yourself over there, isn't it? I like brownies, but I like my brownie without buttercream though. Because I find a brownie very overwhelming a little bit, because it's especially a very good and dense brownie. So yeah. Okay, Tapita is talking about an addictive brownie recipe last night that she apparently Oh, okay, Tapita. You and Mama are making brownies. You know what? That's fine. You eat it in our on our behalf. You and Lollipop eat the brownies on our behalf. We are excited for you because the number of times that you guys eat, I come here and I eat a cake on your behalf. I think it's only fair that you can eat your cake on your brownie on my behalf. So go and enjoy yourself, my darling. Okay, that is good fun. We are still waiting. We are still waiting for our cake to be done. I haven't drunk water today. I feel a bit like, whilst we're at it, you know what? I might as well get on to prepping for the cupcakes whilst the cake is baking. So let me see if I have enough bowls to organize for the cupcakes. I have the flour already done here. Let's see what I can do for Lollipop. When you get this done, send us a photo, will you? We want to see when you've got it all decorated. Right, let me see. Who noticed that my scale is not perfect? My scale is wonky, people. Okay. We have 230. I need 325. Have you ever attempted baking and then you run out of ingredients? You're like, what am I going to do? Tapeta, you are invested in what Lollipop is doing. You know, we're all invested, aren't we? Right. So, here's a tip. When I tell you baking, this cake recipe is very adaptable. I need 325 grams of margarine, but my margarine is finished. Okay. So, for this recipe, I'm going to top it up with oil, but watch how I'm going to use the oil. Just because I'm replacing a portion of the solid fat with liquid fat doesn't mean they have to run the same. No. So for that, I have, how much did I have here? Yeah, that was about 250. So I need about 85 mils of oil, but I'm reducing it to 75. Let's see. Yep, got it. So there's fat here, there's oil, and then we're doing the caster sugar. Actually, why don't I just get the, I have, because of my baking activity here, I've got two Kenwood bowls. So the one that's gone in, and now I bring this out. Look at me showing off. Ignore me. Okay, we are prepping for the cupcakes, so we need, thank you, Lollipop, you are my person. Oh, Tapita, yeah, my cake is my scale is wonky, but yes, it adds character. It also brings experience because it means it's being used, isn't it? Right. So there is 425 grams here, and then into that goes the margarine, and then we will do vanilla. And I'll set that on the side here. And we are doing 110. Yep. And then the final thing is the eggs. We'll get you know what? Tapeta, you are my person. You can understand the sentiment of look, I have different scales. I have bought new ones, but I refuse to swap them. Because you know why? I love my scale. I love this one. I love it. Even though it's wonky. I need about 275 grams of eggs here. Okay, that is not entirely about 5 eggs. That's about 4.5 eggs, but I've gone over it with 15 mils more, but I can account for it. Don't be like me though. This is a recipe I developed, so I can make room for small adaptations where possible. That aside, where do we need our cupcake tray? Look at me, I have everything accessible around me. And then we need the cupcake inserts. Remember the cupcakes we made here that were so cute and lovely? Okay, now let's fill the cupcake. Things in there. Yeah. I have a question. How many of you, I know most of you love to bake in the chat, but how many of you in the chat run your baking activity as a business of some form? Because I kind of feel like I have a question only a business owner will understand. But anyway, how do you feel if you're in the chat? Here's a question for you. How do you feel about people buying stuff from you? They like it, but they don't want to pay for it. I had a classic case of a customer. This part of it is an assumption. I had a case of a customer who buys cakes from me. Never had a problem with them. They're almost so lovely all the time, right? Except the last time they placed an order from me, it almost felt like they wanted a discount. And in my head, I'm like, you've bought cakes from me. You know how much the cakes cost. Why would you expect it to be any less? But I was professional, handled it great. They went away. Then they came back and they want to order a cake. Except this time, here is their request. Their request was that they wanted the same cake they ordered, but they wanted tasters for the cake. And a little part of me just thought, if you've had a cake from me before, you've tasted the cake, you know what it is like. Why would you want tasters of the same cake? I couldn't understand. So whatever I was thinking, I still had to maintain composure and communicate professionally. So I went back to them. I'm like, could you clarify your request? Do you want taste tests, which are a completely different subject, or you want the cake as a taster? Then they came back. They're like, I want my cake as a taster. So I had to inform them, I'm unable to provide a cake for a taster because that's not what happens. Tasters are part of a wedding cake session. that are booked periodically based on mine and the couple's availability. If I have to exercise discretion and offer them to you, they will come at a paid cost. And here is how much it will cost. But they are not a full cake. They are cake slices. And these are the option. And then they came back to me. They said, oh, you know, this thing on your cake, what exactly is it? Like the buttercream on your cake. Can you talk me through what it is? And the covering on the cake. Can you tell me what it is? Huh? Am I crazy? Tell me what you think about this story in the chat. Tapeta and her kitchen stuff. Ah, okay, Caroline, explain that for me to understand. They want to compare what? So I did explain that for me. I don't want to make assumptions, but it was like it did make me think, what is that? Am I missing something? So explain that to me. Because I will be, you know what, I'm a person, I don't always want to, I don't believe that my point of view is the only thing that stands or matters in everything. I like to actually think outside of what is in my point of view. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. So they want to compare the flavor. Is it to compare to somebody else's? Is it? I'm trying to understand that. Well, we've sorted the cupcake liners. So let's get the mixer back and get to baking, right? And my little baking dilemmas here. It's not an issue, but yeah, it was, I just really wanted to know what that was all about. Now, yeah, the mixer is back. Let's get to wiping this a little bit. Okay, we start with the butter, sugar, and vanilla. Same recipe, just a slight change in the flour, but otherwise it's fine. I'm gonna cream that. And watch how we use the oil in this recipe. Okay, so Caroline says they want some it's kind of hard to figure out, but you know what, I'm not judging, I'm just curious, because it's like, let this finish mixing and I'll talk to you about it. with this, I want to be careful that I don't overbeat the batter here, because overbeating it will lead to the structure of the cupcake being too light, and it will kind of overrise in the cupcake case. So I want to be very careful. But even though I like my Kenwood mixer, this spatula here is super flimsy, right? I don't like it very much. So that's something I have spoken about in the comprehensive tutorial I made about my Kenwood mixer. Lollipop, are you doing the school run? Our cake has been baking for 38 minutes, so let's check. Okay, it is still like okay. At this point we can add the oil, but because we're using the same oven and our cake hasn't come to baking properly yet, I think I can stop it for a moment whilst we talk. So yeah, Caroline is saying it might just be an excuse, and she can't, it's hard to figure out why. It is also hard, but it's not something that is kind of sitting on top of my head. It's just that it occurred to me, let me just ask what I'm missing, because I try not to make a habit of talking about my customers, even as poorly as some behave. I have been very, very lucky and blessed to have very loyal paying customers who have stuck with me, even when I'm sometimes reluctant to make a cake and I go off and do stuff, and just because even though this is my business, it's also like a creative outlet for me. So it's not all the time that I'm in I'm in a place to want to whip a cake out, if you like. So the people who have stuck with me are super loyal, and yeah, I try to serve them to the best of my ability. And I also don't feel like having a platform makes it okay to discuss customers even as poorly as they behave sometimes. Especially, it's not fair to them. They don't have a chance to defend themselves, and it's like you're weaponizing a sort of a gathering against them, and I just don't feel that that is fair. Except this was a very particular thing that happened, and I was just thinking, am I missing something? Could I have thought about this differently? So this is not even about them. This is more about me trying to find out, did I miss something here? And am I just stuck in my own ways? Ultimately, they moved on, and yeah. But it just made me think to myself, what was it? Because in terms of cake prices and where I'm set, I find that I know, or I have a sense that when it comes to cakes, I am a little bit on the pricier side. But that's not a precious thing. That is more like knowing what I serve my customers and them deciding whether I am the cake maker for them. And it's fine to have a particular target audience that you can meet their needs. So when I've had peculiar cases when someone wants to buy a cake, they want the cake because they know the cake is great tasting, but they don't want to buy, they don't want to pay for the full thing. So you have customers who come, they're like, okay, I want this cake, but can I take this off? Can I take that off? Thinking that it will reduce the price. Like, the price of the cake is not just determined by the ingredients that goes into the cake. The price is determined generally by the ingredients and extra cost, including the value and skill that makes the cake. So you can take off all you want, that's fine. It's still not going to change the price of the cake where necessary. Of course, where reasonable, I can kind of discount an item. For instance, if you don't like an acrylic topper, you have an option to have an alternative. And if you don't like that altogether, you can take that off. That is fine. But in a case where you can see somebody is just trying to strip the entire cake because they are gunning for the cake because they know the cake is great tasting and that's what they want, but they want it at a less price. Sometimes it can feel a little bit jarring, but I don't take it personal. It's nothing personal at all. It's more like I understand that people don't understand what goes into cakes, but it bothers me when people just keep pushing, or when people almost don't accept the boundary that, you know what, I cannot afford this and that's okay. Let me go find something I can afford, or let me try and see if I can sort of persuade this person to give me what I want. You have people who will just show up and try to kind of almost make you feel guilty because you're charging them for a particular price. And for that, I'm like, okay, that's on you, not me. So yeah, that's just something I was thinking about, but it's not something that is generally bothersome at all. So for those of you who have a bit of insight there, thank you, Caroline. Yeah, let's go back to making the cake. I'm going to add the eggs in. No, actually we have the oil, which is the next thing that should go in. We have a yolk to go in, and another yolk to go in, and another yolk. Are you? Yeah, I saw somebody said something about your egg prices going up. Why? And oh, one thing about the American eggs, apparently you wash them, and so you have to refrigerate your eggs, isn't it? Doesn't it make it more expensive? Caroline? The sound you hear in the mixer is the sound of the crusty sugar, because my lazy self ended up putting the sugar and the margarine in the microwave, so the sugar has crystallized. See, my butter is sort of mixed right. I'm so excited. Who gets excited about cake batter? Okay, let's see. Right. I disappeared. Okay, so unless oh dear. So okay, so unless you buy the eggs from the farmer, the eggs in the American convenience shops are all washed. Wow, that's something I have learned today. I didn't know that. Oh wow. Does it make it more expensive? How much are eggs? Say if you want, how are your eggs packaged and how much are they? I am just a little bit curious. Okay, so eggs in America are packaged as 12-18. So okay, and you're looking at $5.79 for non-organic, a dozen at a store, and another for $9.99. What's the difference? Okay, so $5.79 for non-organic, a dozen. Are these large eggs or medium? Because looking at the price, the conversion rate is almost the same. Our butter is done. Okay, but why? Who needs extra large eggs? What do you need extra large eggs for? I've got some here in the UK and they're just huge. I'm like, what do I need those for? I know in America your roads are big and you have big stuff, but we don't need extra large eggs, okay? We don't. We can do without them. I think when it comes to baking, medium and large eggs, preferably larger eggs fine. If I can't find that, I will substitute that easily for medium eggs. Small, mixed, and extra large eggs, let's be done with that stuff. Okay, let's. Yes, Caroline, the butter came out perfect every time. Oh, thank you. Right, it's just an adaptable recipe, so it works. Do you struggle with achieving a consistent batter with your baking, Caroline? I've actually baked this recipe here time and again, and it yields great results every time. So yeah, I think my immediate last cupcakes we baked here were the cupcakes we used for the Russian buttercream piping tips. Oh, okay. So, all right. But Tapeta, if in your defense, if you need, so Tapeta is saying the only reason they need extra large is for a cheesy omelette. Well, crack 2 large eggs. Why do you need an extra large egg? Just go get yourself 2 large eggs to make an extra cheesy omelette. God. Okay, not big batter. Okay, yeah. If you're making a small batter, it can be a bit inconsistent sometimes. I do not even know what it means to bake like small anymore. I need some cupcakes for a customer and a church event. And look at me. Right, there you go. We'll stamp these. And then we'll get the other ones. Caroline, did you say Americans, you're fussy about your eggs? Am I missing something? I'm not sure why we have extra large over here. Caroline, Tapeta, you feel bad for the chicken and yet you can't return the egg, right? You know what? I have bought extra large here. I can say the size of them is like, it's huge. You're like, oh my God. But why do we need extra large eggs? I don't know. We don't need that. Nobody asked for an extra large eggs until it came along and Tapeta thought, oh, fantastic, my cheesy omelette got better. Okay, I think if we didn't have extra large eggs, life would just go on okay, wouldn't it? We will just go on our lives and be happy with no extra large eggs in it. What way? I think we've made it. Our butter is done now. Tapeta, yeah, you. Okay, let me not go talking down at you people, okay? But yeah, it's nice to feel spoiled sometimes, isn't it? Though, Caroline and Tapeta, feeling special is a good thing sometimes, isn't it? Okay, whilst we're at it, let's go and check our cake and see where we are at. Okay, our cake is baked. I'm not even mad about it. Ooh, okay, people. Okay, let's get to the middle, just to be sure we've got it. Yeah. Think. All right. Come out clean. Okay. If you were here when we made the whole batter, be prepared to be surprised. It has baked light. It has baked tender. It is awesome. Okay, right. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside. Look. Right. If I did anything to it right now, it will collapse. So I'm going to leave it to set. Look. Right. And I'm going to leave it to set and cool before we take it out. But it also means we can put in the cupcake. If you see my face oily, is the heat from the oven, okay? That's literally my mixer toppling over and saying I can't handle this. Okay. Right, the cupcakes have gone in. The mixer fell over. Right, let's see where we are. Tapeta says we are absolutely spoiled. We take it for granted. Imagine if America were more like other countries, how much better off. Ooh, really? Tapeta, are you complaining? Is it because of Agent Orange? Anyway, we don't do politics here, do we? Right? I'm sure people in other countries are complaining equally the same. So the grass is always greener where you water it, my darlings. Okay? What is the cake for? Okay, this is a cake for a church event. So I am baking for church. There you go. We have the cake here. I can't do anything yet. Oh God, the cake, look, I've been able to take this out. I like it when the cake bakes well. Caroline, I don't think not all Americans feel the same. Oh, I like a tender bake, okay? If you've been here, you have heard me talk about a tender bake for a long time. So let's see if we've managed to achieve the same result. Look. Look at that cake. Do you think you like the results? I like it. It is so delicate that by pulling the thingy out, I have crushed it on the side here, but it's so good. I like a cake when it just comes out of the oven. So if we were taking a basics baking class, right? For those of you who struggle with baking a nice sponge, this is the result we will be aiming for, you know, from start to finish. Look at that crumb. Perfect. I can't, like, this is light. It is nice on the outside. The crumb itself is great. Let's cut a piece for your tea, my dear. I want to, you know what? I want to put a knife to this. But if I ate this, my blood sugar levels will be like, will be gone. Okay? So I'm trying to be disciplined. If you like the result of our bake here, like our video. I think, you know what, for the first time since we made the cake and the cupcake, let's wait for the cupcakes to bake and then we'll see the result. And then, so it's, oh look, I like the texture. It is so light, it is spongy, and it's not super crusty on the outside. I would want to cut a piece for my, you know what, I wanted to say, I want to cut a piece. I'll tell you a secret in my kitchen. When I bake a cake like this for customers, right, and it comes out so good, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I flip it over and I put a knife through the crusty bits and I eat that part even before the cake cools. That's how I like my cake, though. I like my cake this way. Oh God, Gladys, why did you go touching the damn thing? Look at that. Mind you, it's not for a customer, so I get to do what I want. Look at that. It's a good cake. If you think it looks delicious, it is. And it is so light. And it's so nice. You know what? Let me just wrap this cake before I end up doing something I shouldn't be doing to the cake. If you're a beginner and you baked your cake and it looks like this, wrap it in cling film whilst it's still warm. You know what, Caroline? I really desperately want to share it with you, my love. You have no idea. I want to wrap it in cling film, and then I remembered I haven't taken the thumbnail photo. Anyway, here's what you can do for yourself if you're a beginner. At this point, if you get your cake like this, wrap it in cling film and leave it on the countertop. What happens is the moisture that is supposed to escape from this cake will trap back into the cake. It will enhance your moisture and it will make the cake crumb a little more tender and the crust as well. Makes easy working with that if you like. But if you are going to be working with a cake within 24-48 hours, you can do that and leave it on a countertop. Wrap the entire thing in cling film. But if you're not going to be working with it within the next 24 hours, you can also wrap it up and freeze it. I always say freezing cakes and the quality you get out of freezing cakes is determined generally by the environment within the cake, within which the cake is stored. So supposing everything is okay in the freezer, it is devoid of strong smelling foods, it's saved right, it will keep form, it will freeze, and the freezing the cakes warm also adds moisture, because then it traps all the warmth in the cake back into the cake and yields a very nice textured cake. So for those of you who don't like frozen cakes, this is actually a thing. And I'm not talking about freezing cakes for months and months and months. No, we're talking freezing the cake in a very short term to enhance the crumb integrity and quality. So that is a nice tip. But I can't wrap it just yet because we're waiting for the cupcakes, and then we can take a thumbnail photo before I do anything else. So because it's the same recipe except with small adaptations, let's wait for the cupcake to finish baking, and then we can see what that looks like before we finish our live today. Okay, but before that, I'm gonna, is it just me or I hate having leftover butter? I do. I don't like wasting butter. And I hate my leftover butter that I cannot use. But I'll be using this one. What did you say? Tabitha. Making me look forward to it. Why can't you, Tabitha, are you asking me why can't I wrap it? You didn't miss anything. I'm just waiting to take a thumbnail photo. That's all. Look. I should stop eating the crust because by so doing, I'm stripping the cake bare and then the crumb cannot hold. But when it's so good, I can't help it. This is so good. Okay. Okay, now it's cool. It's firm. Oh. Oh, okay. The butter. No, it's only because it's so little. Yeah, Tabitha, so you're asking about the butter. It's so little that I can't be bothered to bake with it, but I know you can freeze it or refrigerate it if you want. I don't know if I really want to do that because I want to wash up and clean up and tidy as well, so it's neither here nor there. Don't worry. Because I could have just made cupcakes with that. Now we'll see. But hey, we're still waiting for our cupcakes to finish. Same recipe, slight adaptation by changing the flour. So we'll see what result it yields. So Tabitha, you didn't miss anything at all, right? But anyway, people, what are you doing over there? Did Caroline say today is an off day for her? Caroline, is it an off day for you today? Why did I see an off day somewhere? Today I didn't leave a pan of water at all. I didn't. Today I'm feeling a little bit lazy. But then again, because I was just trialing, it just occurred to me that the same recipe makes the same cake. I wanted to maintain the same variables. So that is a secondary intention, but I just had no plans to put the water in it because I was feeling a bit lazy. So let's see what the result looks like when we don't have the water in the base, and what it looks like when we make the same recipe with a cake and a cupcake. So Caroline, oh, so Caroline, you had a day off. Maybe I should hire you back to work today. Because I feel like I could do with a day off. I'm exhausted. I feel like, oh, I want to sleep. No. It's just that it's like today I just feel a little bit low in energy. But I'm not complaining. I'm happy to have completed the things I want to do. I made 2 lots of buttercream before the start of the live. We have baked our cake. We are baking 24 cupcakes. Tonight I'm baking 12 chocolate cupcakes and 2 6-inch cakes. Yeah, Tabitha, it will be. You know what? Some days I don't think about these things, but then when they occur, they occur. So, yep. We are baking without the water in the oven. We've seen what it looks like with the trick with the water, and the cupcakes came out perfect, absolutely tender, amazing. Now we'll see. We'll see if the water makes a difference to these ones as well. Oh, when I'm done baking for the day, I tell you what, I know my day doesn't normally finish until about 12 midnight. And then I go to bed between 1 and 2 a.m. But whether I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m., I still have to wake up for 7:30 in the morning to make sure I get the boy ready for school, like my son ready for school. So, yep. So my day doesn't finish. Whatever I'm doing Monday through to Friday. But tell a lie, the part between 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. is like I'm in bed, but I like to kind of just chill out on Twitter. And you know what scrolling during bedtime feels like? It will rob you of the good quality of your sleep. So that is on me. But my baking activities, even if I finish sometime, there's editing, there's things to do. So yeah, my day is really long. I like this cake. We are still here. The producer is still here. My son just got back from school and he's like, normally by the time he comes I'm done, but today he came and I'm still here, so it's like, hello, how are you? Yeah. Oh God, stop it. Nice proposal. You're proposing it to the wrong person. Huh. I always have something to do. But I know what you mean. I need to kind of literally take a break away from all these activities. At least have a day where I'm like, I'm not doing anything. But you know what? We're like women, moms, even if you're resting, you're feeling guilty or you're thinking about the thing that you haven't done or you're supposed to do. I'm one of those, like, even when I'm sitting there and I'm supposed to relax, I'm thinking about the thing that I have to do. And sir, hello, little producer, hello. He has told me in no certain terms he doesn't want no parts of my life out here. So even when I'm saying hello, he waves and he smiles and he goes. He's like, as long as you're on a live, I'm not talking to you. You're on your own, that person. So yeah. Okay. Thank you, Caroline. Ooh. The British accent. Well, if you heard him, but I'll see if one of these days he would be pleased to talk. He doesn't like being on camera, and I respect his wishes. But you've seen photos of him on the community post. No, Kiddo says, Mama, whatever you're doing over there, it's you and your peoples. He's like, I want no parts of that life. Okay, I value my privacy. Let me just be out here living my happy life in quiet silence. Do you want to say hello? Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, it's the the little producer. They want to hear hello. They know you don't want to know parts of this. It's fine. Okay. Do you just want to say hello? Hello, sir. Big producer.
Hello.
The little person. Just say hello. That's all. Just hello. We don't want to see him. It's fine. We know he doesn't want. No, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Did you hear, people? They didn't hear. Sir?
Hello.
Okay. Did you hear?
They're calling you, Dad. They heard.
Apparently he's trolling us, okay? The boy is trolling us.
No, you guys are trolling. They probably heard the first time.
Yeah, he is so cute. Oh, I think he's the only person who gives me matching orders. And some days I have nothing to come back at. It's wild, these kids, okay? I have nothing to say half of the time. Like, I can't make him do stuff for me. He will read me my bill of rights. But yeah, he said hello and he's just minding his business. He's like, I don't want no parts of you and your activity over there. But I'm gonna just say hello, people. Okay? We are still waiting for our cupcakes. You know what, Tapita? You have literally summed up parenting in a nutshell. We are the peasants. And they, okay. Yeah. I get, if I told you the stuff I get told sometimes. Apparently, I'm lazy. In his eyes. Why that is, you ask? Because I asked his dad to make me a cup of tea. So why can't you do it yourself? Okay, dude, if you did stuff for yourself. Oh dear, kids, we could talk about them forever, but that is, by the way, our cake is done. Look, something tells me if I put it here, it will fall over and then I'll regret it. Anyway. Papita, is Mom awake? You got that treatment. You were told try to a dance. Yeah, Tapita, you are so lazy. Get off that couch and drive your daughter through the snow, isn't it? Them kids. They are so wrong for that. So because we don't have water to kind of even out the heat, we have to keep an eye on the rise of the cupcakes. And normally, remember, the very first time we were baking them, I think it was the day Jackie was here, we had the water and we were baking them at 160 degrees C for 18 minutes. Well, today we'll have to bake them a little more than that, because we don't have the water and I have to reduce the heat between the 160 and 150 degree mark. So I think it's, our cake has been in for nearly 20 minutes now. Oh my God, Tapita, this is amazing. Wow. This is so lovely. Tapita, you are living the life with your mom, having coffees at 2 to 3 a.m. and then she going to bed whenever she wants and waking up whenever she wants. This is amazing. I want this life for myself. Wow. Oh God, what have I done here? put my phone in water. Tabitha, I am so jealous of you right now, right? Having such a fun life hanging out with your mom. Did you ever think she was lazy when you were young? The nerve of these kids, right? It seems like forever when you're waiting for something, isn't it? Because I'm just waiting for these cupcakes to be done so we can all be done from here, right? Because this is, I think, who remembers the marathon? This is so lovely, Tabitha. Enjoy your time with your mom. It's, you know what, thinking about it just is such a nice thought, isn't it? Who remembers the time we did the baking marathon? Remember? When we baked throughout the day, and I did so many different bakes in the day, and then we ended up frosting the cupcake at midnight. Who remembers that? That was a long time ago. God, how times have changed. Wow. Wow. Tabitha. Well, I guess mom deserves all the hugs she gets then. Working long days and nights. Wow. You must really be enjoying your time with her. Yeah, perhaps. That was somewhere last July, I think, the marathon baking session, Tabitha. Tabitha, mom would cook Thanksgiving dinner for her work, then come home and make ours. Wow. Jeez. There's a generation of women who just had it, right? Let's see. Cupcakes, will you be done quickly? We're waiting for the cupcakes. Oh, that's so lovely. I am living vicariously through you and your mom, Tabitha. Gladys, be careful. Don't spill the water. My clumsy self will end up spilling the water in the kitchen, right? But here we are. Today we have a few things we've done, haven't we? We're going to check if the cupcakes bakes the same recipe, it bakes well, and we're going to also check and see if without the water there's a hell of a difference. So yeah. My mom is in Ghana. I live in the UK. It's a 6-hour flight. It takes a while to organize, but so yeah, that distance is huge, isn't it? But I speak to her, so doesn't make up for not seeing her, but at least I do speak to her, so that's nice. Okay. So, Tapita, what do you think? I think not having the water has yielded a slightly different result, just slightly, to if we had the water. They look taller, yes, they look taller, and they are, some of them are just about to fall out, right? And then some of the top ones have been baked properly, right? They look taller, and I had to keep managing the heat. I kind of feel like some of them have to go back in a little bit, like the ones that are away from the oven. So yeah, it still bakes great, but I think the water is better. Just had to put them back in just so that, just turn the pans around. Yes, I did feel more of it, but the heat, you can see from the top of the oven that the heat is not evenly distributed, and that is because the part of the pan that faces into the fan oven, of inside the oven, will bake quicker, and the part that faces away will not. So if you lower your heat to the 160 degrees, part will bake fine and the other part will now be trying to catch up. By so doing, it means you don't have even heat. What the moisture does is that it, even if it doesn't distribute the heat evenly, there's a cooling system that then allows things to come up by themselves, if that makes sense. So with that in mind, not having the water means that you're waiting on direct heat to radiate, and it doesn't go everywhere. So you have to keep managing the heat system and turning the pans around, which makes for a lot more time, because then I have to stay and observe other than move on to doing other things. Whereas if I had the water in it, I'll just move on to do what I need to do, and I won't be worried about the cupcakes burning. And I hope that kind of makes sense. Yeah, adding the water makes a great deal of difference. This is one of the cupcakes that was facing away, and it looks done, but it's still too soft on the top, and it looks like it could crisp up a little bit. So same recipe, just a slight change in the flour, and put some water in the oven. Yeah, without the water, you have to turn the pans halfway through the oven. Well, you can tell which one, because I can at least eat the cupcake and not feel like it's affecting my result, whereas I can't eat the cake. So for my own eating pleasure, I prefer the cupcake. Tapita, that was an honest answer, isn't it? Just need tea to go with it. Yeah, I need a nice cup of tea to go with it. But right now, I think we have seen the result. We need water in the oven, but the recipe yields the same, whether it's cake form or not. Our dear Caroline, are you still here? I think, yeah, with that in mind, I'll just leave them in for 5 minutes when it finishes. Let's wrap up. Tapita, go make coffee for mom. If you haven't already liked the video, please do. And I'm kind of thinking, maybe I'll be back tomorrow, maybe we've done the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's my commitment to you. I don't know if I'm back tomorrow. I have a very busy Saturday, so I don't know either. I don't know what I'm doing, but at least I've honored my promise to you guys. We'll be back. If you don't see me tomorrow and the rest of the weekend, if I show up, it will be a nice bonus thing to do. But I will update you in the community post. But whatever happens, I am sure I will see you same time next week, God willing, 1 p.m. UK time. Take care and thank you for your time today.